Saudi Arabia's escalating use of the death penalty has reached horrifying levels in 2024, with at least 306 individuals executed as of 6 December, the highest known figure in Saudi history. But this modern surge in executions echoes a much more shocking case from nearly 50 years ago, when the kingdom executed one of its own princes for the most unthinkable crime in royal history. On June 18, 1975, Prince Faisal bin Musaid walked to his execution in Riyadh's public square, becoming the first and only Saudi prince ever executed for regicide. His crime was the assassination of his own uncle, King Faisal, just 3 months earlier. This execution would establish a precedent that even royal blood provides no protection from Saudi justice, a principle that reverberates through the kingdom's current unprecedented use of capital punishment. The story begins with the complex web of Saudi royal succession and family dynamics that defined the kingdom in the mid-20th century. Faisal bin Musaid al Saud was born on April 4, 1944, the son of Prince Musaid bin Abdulaziz, who was the half-brother of King Faisal and son of Saudi Arabia's founder, King Abdulaziz. The kingdom that young Faisal bin Musaid was born into was dramatically different from today's Saudi Arabia. In 1944, the country was still largely nomadic and tribal, with oil revenues only beginning to transform the desert kingdom. The discovery of oil in commercial quantities had occurred just 6 years earlier in 1938, and the full economic transformation was still decades away. The royal family structure was equally complex. His mother was Watfa, a daughter of Muhammad bin Talal, the 12th and last Rashidi emir. This lineage is crucial to understanding the prince's psychology. The Rashidi family had been the Al Saud's primary rivals for control of the Arabian Peninsula for over a century, before finally being defeated by King Abdulaziz in 1921. His parents divorced when he was young, and he and his brothers and sisters were much closer to their maternal Rashidi relatives than their paternal Al Saud relatives. This divided loyalty would prove significant in shaping the young prince's worldview and his eventual alienation from the royal family. The 1960s marked a period of rapid modernization under King Faisal's rule, beginning in 1964 when he convinced his half-brother King Saud to abdicate. Faisal implemented a policy of modernization and reform, outlawed slavery, and pursued themes of pan-Islamism, anti-communism, and pro-Palestinianism while attempting to limit the power of Islamic religious officials. However, this modernization created tension within traditional segments of Saudi society, and even within the royal family itself. Young Prince Faisal bin Musaid spent much of the late 1960s and early 1970s in the United States, studying at universities and experiencing Western culture firsthand. During this period, he lived with Christine Surma, an American girlfriend, for 5 years, further distancing him from traditional Saudi values and family connections. The assassination itself occurred on March 25, 1975, during what should have been a routine royal reception. King Faisal had invited members of his family to a majlis, a traditional Arab social gathering, and it was during this event that he was shot. Prince Faisal bin Musaid had recently returned from the United States, where he had been studying, and as King Faisal leaned in to kiss his nephew in greeting, Prince Faisal bin Musaid pulled out a pistol and shot him. The king died shortly after despite medical efforts to save him. The assassination sent shockwaves throughout the kingdom and the broader Arab world, as King Faisal was widely respected as a modernizing leader who had successfully wielded the oil weapon during the 1973 embargo. The immediate aftermath revealed the complexities of Saudi justice when applied to the royal family. Immediately after the assassination, in an official statement, it was said that Prince Faisal was mentally deranged. However, at a later date, a panel of medical experts ruled that he had been sane at the time of the assassination and could stand trial. This initial claim of mental illness appeared to be an attempt to avoid the unprecedented situation of trying and potentially executing a royal family member. His American girlfriend, Christine Surma, who lived with him for 5 years while he was in the United States, denied accusations that Prince Faisal was mentally ill. The trial and execution proceeded with remarkable speed by any standard, but particularly for such a sensitive case involving royal blood. Prince Faisal was tried, convicted, and executed on June 18, 1975. The trial took place in a Sharia court that met in a closed session. The entire process from assassination to execution took less than 3 months, demonstrating the Saudi system's capacity for swift justice, even in the most complex circumstances. This rapid progression contrasted sharply with typical Western legal systems, where such cases might take years to resolve through appeals and lengthy proceedings. The execution itself was carried out according to traditional Saudi methods. Most executions in the country are carried out by decapitation, beheading. Saudi Arabia is the only country that still uses this method. The public nature of the execution served multiple purposes within Saudi society. It demonstrated that even royal blood provided no immunity from justice, reinforced the authority of Islamic law over tribal or family loyalties, and sent a clear message about the consequences of challenging the established order. The execution was reportedly attended by thousands of Saudis, making it one of the most significant public executions in the kingdom's modern history. The case established crucial legal and political precedents that continue to influence Saudi Arabia today. The willingness to execute a prince demonstrated that the Al Saud family placed the stability and legitimacy of the state above traditional tribal protections for family members. This principle has been tested repeatedly in subsequent decades as the royal family has grown to include thousands of princes and princesses. The case also reinforced the supremacy of Sharia law within the Saudi legal system, establishing that religious courts had jurisdiction even over the highest levels of society. From a global perspective, the execution of Prince Faisal bin Musaid occurred during a period when capital punishment was becoming increasingly controversial internationally. In 1975, many Western nations were beginning to question or abolish the death penalty entirely. The European Convention on Human Rights was already moving toward restricting capital punishment, and several U.S. states were reconsidering their death penalty statutes following the Supreme Court's temporary moratorium in 1972. Against this backdrop, Saudi Arabia's execution of a royal family member for political assassination represented a stark contrast to global trends toward abolition or restriction of capital punishment. The execution also reflected broader patterns in how authoritarian regimes handle internal threats. Unlike many monarchies that might have quietly exiled or imprisoned a troublesome royal relative, Saudi Arabia chose public execution as a demonstration of strength and legitimacy. This approach aligned with the kingdom's broader strategy of using public executions as tools of social control and political messaging. The spectacle served to reinforce both religious authority and state power simultaneously. Saudi Arabia remains one of the most prolific executioners in the world. It is among the top 3 executioners worldwide, surpassed only by China and Iran in Amnesty International's latest global death penalty report. The current statistics are staggering in their scope and represent a dramatic escalation from the 1970s. According to numbers reported by Agence France Presse, Saudi Arabia executed 303 people on 2024, the nation's highest ever total. This represents more than a 6-fold increase from the single execution of Prince Faisal bin Musaid in 1975, illustrating how the kingdom's use of capital punishment has evolved from rare, politically significant cases to routine criminal justice proceedings. The methods and legal framework established in 1975 continue to govern Saudi executions today. Capital punishment is used both for offenders of lethal crimes and non-lethal crimes, as well as juvenile offenders. Among those executed are individuals charged with non-lethal terrorism, a charge that has been used against individuals who participated in protests against the authoritarian regime in Saudi Arabia. This expansion of capital offenses far beyond the regicide that cost Prince Faisal bin Musaid his life reflects the Saudi system's evolution toward using executions as tools for maintaining social and political control across a much broader range of activities. The international response to current Saudi execution practices often references the 1975 precedent, though with important distinctions. While the execution of Prince Faisal bin Musaid was widely seen as justified given the severity of regicide, modern executions for drug offenses, political dissent, and other nonviolent crimes have drawn sustained international criticism. The high number of executions in Saudi Arabia, including for offenses that do not meet international standards for the most serious crimes, is especially alarming, 7 organizations, including Human Rights Watch, said in a statement. The execution of King Faisal's nephew remains a watershed moment in Saudi legal and political history, establishing precedents that continue to shape the kingdom nearly 50 years later. The case demonstrated that Saudi Arabia would prioritize state stability over family loyalty, religious law over tribal custom, and public justice over private resolution. These principles have guided the kingdom through subsequent decades of political challenges and social transformation. However, the dramatic escalation in executions from that single, politically motivated case in 1975 to over 300 annually today illustrates how legal precedents can evolve far beyond their original context. As Saudi Arabia continues to face international pressure over its use of capital punishment, the ghost of Prince Faisal bin Musaid serves as both a justification for the system's impartiality and a reminder of how far the kingdom has traveled from that singular act of royal justice to its current position as one of the world's leading executioners.